皆さんこんにちは。内野隆司です。いよいよリック・フェイのインタビュー最終回です。今回の対談では、武術が人生においてどのような影響を及ぼすのか、そしてそれがどのように私たちの心と体を成長させるのか、リックと一緒に深掘りしました。特に武術の持つ魔法のような力や個人の成長としての武術の役割について、リックが熱く語ってくれています。今の時代だからこそ必要な武術の価値や精神を改めて考えさせられる内容となっていますので、皆さん最後までお楽しみください。それではどうぞ。
I think there are the thing that we call magic all the time. There is some magic in these movements. The way that these movements affect the human body and the human mind, and then after that, your heart. The not your heart like the pump part, but your heart, the deep part of you. And so these movements have magic in them. And whether we can explain that exactly or not, it's true. I know it's true. I've seen it all my life. By the way, we're getting very close to being able to prove that. Scientifically, they've just invented it looks like a helmet that you wear and it tracks your brain waves in real time. And then you continue wearing the helmet for 24 hours so they can tell which one of those changes stays, how long the change stays with you. And this martial art that we do, it turns out that it's very beneficial for your brain. So if nothing else, as we're trying to handle all the changes in society, we need a better brain to take in what's going on around us. So martial art is a series of contrasts. Well, I already talked about there is a dark side of martial art. There are people who do martial arts so they can hurt somebody. And you can feel that, you can see it. It affects they're not financially successful because they have that dark feeling to it. You know, you think look at the progression. When Dan Inosanto and Bruce Lee start to mix this art together, right, and they're really looked down upon by the other martial art community, the rest of the martial art community. They didn't realize the genius. It's the way he connects with people. How is it that this man was able to learn at the highest levels of all of these martial arts, hundreds of them, you know, just in the single stick? He used to say it's 34 major single stick influences, right? It's a lot. And normally these people would not get along, but they put their input into Dan Inosanto. So as I see this art affecting people in society now, there are big changes happening and it can be scary. But martial art is a little place where you can go for some reassurance, maybe you leave more calm, you leave feeling better. You know, I had one of my guys said something one day, he's so funny. He goes, because he likes to drink maybe too much, right? And he said, you know, Sifu, most of the time when I leave work, I take a right because that goes to the collie group. I know sometimes I take a left because that goes to the bar. But most of the time I take a right to go to the collie group because it helps him. It just helps him. He doesn't need to drink them. And so I'm really happy mostly with the effect we have on people's lives, positively affecting them. The martial art part, I'm proud of what we've done in martial art, especially what you've done in martial art. It's amazing. I mean, it's truly physically amazing to watch what we do. And you know, I'm watching your kids, they're incredible. But it's the effect that we have on people's lives that I'm so proud of. You know, hundreds of stories of people that either came out of a bad situation. You know, I mean, that was me. You were with me in my worst situation. And I just clung to the art. I would pray every morning and I would say, let this art save me. And this art is a light place. It has light. And that's what I think. It may be hard to see at first. And people might think, oh, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what this, but then they feel it and the light bulb goes off. They go, oh, I get it. And that's a cool moment. That's fun to see.
I have kids, families, and before that I was single, and I was had a lot of time and freedom, but now I have a joy with the freedom with this art, and without this art and you and Guru, well, again, I wouldn't have been here. So thank you.
But you know what you've done? Do you know who George Burns is? The famous comedian?
No, not really, but
he was a famous comedian, a famous actor and comedian, George Burns. And what he said was interesting. He said, you know, if you do what you love, you don't need a vacation. If you're doing what you love, and it shows that you are doing what you love.
Yeah.
And so you set up your life where, okay, when you were single, you didn't have any obligations. You could do whatever you want. But you took whatever you want and made it your job and made it a wonderful career and helped people with it. So you can do it all the time anyways. I think it's fantastic. I think it's wonderful. I envy the people who work for you.
Same to you. Thank you. But then, Rick, well, we talked quite a bit, and one last thing that I wanted to talk about is the martial arts. Again, we have 3 different words for martial art. Each one of them has a different direction, the mental directions. One of them is martial arts. I wrote it. It's called Budo. And the other one is, we call it Bujutsu. The last one is called contesting martial arts. It's competitive aspect of like a UFC and compatible martial art. And we distinguish those 3. We don't really categorize it into one martial art as martial art, but we call it 3 different ways. The way of martial arts is it has tendency to go towards the organizations, and then the compatible one goes towards the competitions, and then the Bujutsu, the skill of art of martial arts, goes to the individual. We think our art is going towards. Or what do you think of those 3? Because you don't really value too much on competition and a bunch of Street Fighter and stuff, right? Like that.
Oh, but you know what? Your students will do very good in competition if they wanted to. I can see it. I've trained fighters all my life. I can see it. And so if they wanted to, they would be very good in any kind of competition they wanted to be in. I think the Bujutsu is more what we're into.
Right.
It's the individual development.
Right.
And the skill level, not meaning to use it. I don't hold a weapon thinking I'm going to use it on somebody, right? I hold a weapon for the skill. And I was taught very early by Mr. Inosano that the weapon teaches the hand.
Right.
The weapon teaches the hand. So this is about my development, not about destroying the other person. And I know there are some stick fighting groups who have made it about that, but I'm not interested. I'm just not interested. And what's interesting about that, by the way, is that I'll put my students up against anybody's as far as a real fight, but they won't do it. They don't do it. And that's good. I don't want them. Well, for one thing, martial art at the competition level depends on how much you're willing to risk. So how important is your life to you and your body to you and your health to you? And if you damage someone else seriously, how does that affect you? Your consciousness, your heart, how does that affect you? So there's a lot at risk. Every culture has had that. We've gone through violent eras. And then it's interesting, my culture was the Vikings, right? No, the Scandinavians had the Vikings. The Vikings were never conquered. They simply dissolved. They decided to not do the things that they had been doing. Because they were fighters everywhere and they were all soldiers and whatever. And the society just evolved upward. It dissolved this idea of conquering everybody and killing and whatever. And it just it didn't stop all at once. It took time, but they just dissolved. I thought that was so interesting because nobody could conquer them at that time in Europe. They won everything, and then they just stopped. So, but no, I think of those 3, I think the Bujutsu is more you and I because it's about individual development. I don't think it's about a system. I hope that we never settle on. I hope it never stops growing. Okay, stop. This is it. This is our system now. 500 years from now, it's going to be the same. I hope that's never it. We're going to continue to grow and evolve. And if we keep open, we keep our minds open, we keep the system open for input, and we keep looking like you're constantly looking. You're going to the Inosano Academy and still learning, even though you have a huge business, you have all these people around you, you could just do what you do and not look, but you're still looking. You come to my school and you're learning new things and doing things. I think it's fantastic. So I think if we keep in that lane, if we keep in that area, that's where we're going to be happiest, and it's where we're going to do the best.
You inherited me and all of us as a piece of passion. That passion, the little light, always guide me to motivate, to learn more, to seek more, and research more. And that's a joy. And then if I have a question, there must be the answers. That's why I have a question. So I just keep following that. And then here I am. But I want you to kind of let people know that this can lead people's dream come true. There could be not everything, but there's some good part of fulfilling their dreams, what they want to accomplish, If you could say that to Japanese people, that would be great.
I would say also accomplishment is a habit. So
Ooh,
when you accomplish something, it becomes a habit to accomplish something.
good one.
So to master a skill, whatever it is, left hook, it doesn't matter what the skill is. Okay, that mastery or that development becomes a habit. And so then when you look at the next thing, you go, okay, well, I got this thing, so I can get this thing. And then that builds and that builds and that builds and that builds. And so it is, human development is a habit. You have that habit. You've always had it. And so once they acquire that habit, they're going to do better in whatever they take up. It doesn't matter what it is. If they're a painter, they're going to paint better. If they're, well, I don't know what their job is, whatever, they're going to do better because they have this habit of development. And that comes from martial art.
We get it deeper than a little bit deeper, the making a habit of this art. This art really deals with a human's life. And it's again, I remember Guru telling me that it's a destructive motions if you think about one way. But once we learn how to destroy people's life or something or body, we learn the other side of that. And it's a life force that we pay attention to because we know how easy we can kind of destroy somebody's body. Now we can get into the other side to create something that would make people happy, or that can be any business or any service or any areas. That's how we kind of evolved our civilization here. But in Japan, we kind of forgot about this one because there's no competition.
Yeah.
But what you are going through now in the United States is, to me, is Jeet Kune Do itself. It's really is exciting things going on in the United States. And here we go. We are, Japan will be this. I hope that it's going to happen the same. And I hope our art can facilitate people to see and then receive this revolutionary moment of this time. That's what I really think that we can contribute, make a big contribution.
But like we've talked about so many times, it starts all the way down on the bottom with the fact that Sifu Dan Inosanto, has shown us all of these incredibly violent arts without emphasizing the violence.
Right.
He never emphasized the violent part.
I know.
It's amazing the amount of things. And there's a reason why special forces soldiers from all over the world seek out the Inosanto method. And, I've been connected with so many military groups, law enforcement groups, but I don't think about that. The art's not that to me. I know you can use it that way, but we don't use it that way. I think that the developmental part of the art, that's always been MKG, is development. And if they want to go to the competition, it's okay. If they want to go in the combat, that's okay. I hope it's for good, right? But that's not where we land. We're doing art every day just for ourselves and for our family and for our community. And that back to what that speech that Dan gave, where he drew that triangle, that's why we're doing it. Yes, you want to be able to defend yourself if you have to. And then we pray every day that we don't have to do that. I don't want to have to be that, but I do want an advantage if I have to. But then I also want to be able to stand up for people and then develop as I go and do other things better. So I believe what you're doing is amazing, Takashi.
Oh, same deal. What you're doing is creating the people, beautiful people like Greg and a whole bunch of people. And I think you are really, to me, I'm so proud of you and pursuing this art for every day and keep going like this. And that's, to us, is inspiration. And thank you, Rick.
I wonder if people realize, do you know how many years? 45 years we've been. So
thank you very much. And I really appreciate it. I love when we get the chance to talk. Great. Man, that's very valuable talk here. And your talk was really good.
最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。今回、リックとの話を通じて、武術が単なる戦いの技術ではなく、人生そのものに深く関わるものだと改めて実感しました。特に習慣として技を磨くことが人生のあらゆる分野に良い影響を及ぼすという話は多くの人にとっても共感できる部分ではないでしょうか。そして次回は私の親友である伝説的な武術家、そしてアメリカ UFC において4人もの世界チャンピオンを輩出し、自らもグレイシー柔術黒帯5段、ムエタイの黒帯6段、そしてジークンドーカリイノサント公認インストラクター、そのグレッグ・ネルソンをゲストに迎え、武術と人生の挑戦について深く掘り下げます。彼の武術への情熱、そして2度の末期がんを乗り越えた経験から学べることは本当に多いです。ぜひ次回もお楽しみに。